Today's topic is that India needs to rethink its climate action policies, especially to reduce greenhouse gases. Hello, everybody. It's good to be back with you once again. Today, we have with us a distinguished and established journalist, TK Arun from India. Over to you, Mr. TK Arun. Let's go.
Hi. Yeah. So I wish to speak on changing the way we combat climate change.
Okay.
Climate change in India feud or conflict. Everybody understands there is climate change and it is actually affecting lots of people in very, very adverse ways. There are flash floods, cloud bursts, our rivers are in space, rains become unseasonal, our coastlines are buffeted by rising seas, very strong winds and storms, displacing people, damaging property. So right in India, you can see this and experience this. Elsewhere in the world, you see a temperature of 54 degrees centigrade in the Death Valley in California. You have 44, 45, 47 degrees in Spain. Your wildfires raging in Canada, in the United States, all of Southern Europe, in the Grecian islands, in Algeria. Your floods in China, very high temperatures in some parts of China. So the world is actually witnessing the worst effects of climate change. Still, there are people in the US who think that to say there is man-made climate change is purely a matter of ideology, some way to destroy the oil and gas industry, and therefore something to be not only doubted, but also to be physically resisted.
Yes.
In fact, a weatherman recently had to quit his job and move out of the city because while reporting on the extreme weather events, he talked about climate change.
Yeah.
And some people started sending him threatening letters.
Yeah.
Saying, why are you bringing politics into weather report?
Yeah.
But in India, we don't have this problem. Still, we face on several fronts extreme pressure to adopt measures which would actually adversely affect our growth.
Yeah.
The current dominant discourse on how to fight climate change has been shaped by the West, the rich world, Europe and America. And their primary theme is that additional emissions of greenhouse gases, particularly carbon dioxide that is produced when fossil fuels are burnt, must be reduced. And it must be compressed as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And unless we do that, the world will keep on warming. And in 2015, the UN Convention on Climate Change, they have a meeting called the Conference of Parties.
Yes.
They decided to set a target of limiting the warming of the Earth to 1.5 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial times.
Yes.
The latest assessment report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, this is the 6th assessment report, says that by 2019, the world had already warmed 1.1 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial times, above 1850. What this means is that there isn't so much of additional warming to be left when that 1.5 degrees centigrade additional warming is breached. And however much countries might reduce their additional emissions, this target is going to be breached. We will be lucky if we can contain additional warming to 2 degrees centigrade. Now, what should be done? Now, the 6th assessment report also says that the additional carbon budget to reach the 1.5 degrees centigrade additional warming is 500 gigatons of carbon dioxide. From 1850 till 2019, the amount of carbon dioxide estimated to have been emitted in the atmosphere is 2,400 gigatons.
Yeah.
Plus or minus.
Yeah.
Out of this 2,400 gigatons, the vast majority, the bulk of it, would have been emitted by what today have become the rich world.
Yes.
And is the same rich world which is telling us that we should limit our emissions.
Yes.
The per capita emissions in South Asia is a little over 1 ton per year. The per capita emissions in Africa is less than 1 ton per year.
Yes.
The per capita emissions in North America is 17 tons per year. The per capita emissions in Europe is some 9 or 10 tons per year.
Yes. Yes.
And they are telling us we are a developing country. The bulk of our population use very little energy, and they are telling us you should reduce your emissions.
Right.
The most abundant source of energy for us is actually coal, which is domestically available.
Yes.
And if we burn coal, we can produce energy and we can grow and improve the standard of living of our people.
Yes.
But if we burn coal, we will produce emissions.
Yes, of course.
And in order to not produce emissions, we have to switch to other forms of renewable energy or nuclear energy. Now, I'm not against renewable energy, but right now, renewable energy is not as cheap as many people think it is. You constantly see reports that the cost of producing 1 unit of solar energy is now fallen below 3 rupees, below 2 rupees, and so on and so forth. This is actually a fraction of the actual cost.
Yeah.
Because in order to incorporate 1 degree or say some bit of 1 unit of solar energy into the grid, you have to do a number of things. You have to maintain the stability of the grid frequency. So when you are drawing in solar power, that will make the grid frequency fluctuate, which will be very bad for the system. Your equipment can go out, and the whole system can collapse. Therefore, you have to invest in additional equipment in the grid. That is one cost. But the biggest cost comes from the discontinuity, the intermittency of renewable sources.
Yeah.
The wind does not blow all the time. The sun does not shine all the time. And when renewable energy dries up, you have to tap conventional power, right? But conventional power is not something that you can just turn on and off.
Yes.
So, and in order for conventional power plants to be available to you,
yes,
to use when your renewable sources are not available, you have to pay them.
Of course.
The power from thermal power, conventional sources, has 2 components to it. One is the availability cost.
Yes.
For being available to you to produce power, you have to pay them something.
Yes.
Then there is a fuel cost.
Yes.
So if you don't draw power from the conventional power station, you can avoid paying the fuel cost.
Yes.
But you still have to pay the conventional cost, the availability cost.
Yes.
So the real cost of renewable power is the cost of renewable power plus the availability cost of conventional power plus the cost of keeping the grid frequency stable. Germany, and look at the graph of the evolution of the cost of power in Germany. The greater the addition of renewable power to their entire power generation system, the higher the actual cost of end consumer price of power, because you are keeping on paying both the costs of the intermittently available renewable power plus the availability factor for conventional power. So, but this is not a real issue. If you say the bulk of the gases in the atmosphere, which have caused the globe to heat up, has been contributed by the countries which today form the rich world.
Yes.
Why don't they simply suck out this carbon dioxide from the atmosphere?
Yes.
As simple as that.
Yeah.
Your contribution as a rich country would be to remove from the air the carbon dioxide you are put in.
Okay.
Instead of doing that, you are telling us, you poor slob, you have to reduce your emissions.
Okay.
And this is something that we have finally succumbed to. We have bought into this.
Yeah.
Common but differentiated responsibilities we have agreed in the language of the climate negotiations. But what is that differentiated responsibility?
Yeah.
We can reduce, but why don't you also make your contribution by creating negative emissions now?
Yeah.
It's not enough for you to reduce your additional emissions.
Yeah.
Now, fortunately, sucking out carbon dioxide from there, this is called CDR, carbon dioxide removal.
Yeah.
It's not such an uneconomic activity as it used to be some years back. A very dominant part of the discourse on carbon dioxide removal is that it can cost anything from $600 a ton to $1,000 a ton.
Yeah.
This estimate was put out some say a decade ago, and that has dominated the discourse.
Yeah.
Today, that just is not true, because the technology for removing carbon dioxide has improved. Secondly, and more importantly, you have found ways to use the carbon dioxide that you take out from the air.
Yeah.
So now, recently, GAIL, the Indian gas company,
Yeah.
had a tie-up with a company called Lanzatech. It's a US NASDAQ listed company.
Yeah.
Which uses biotechnology
Yeah.
to convert the carbon dioxide captured from flue gases, that is from the exhaust of factories, of power plants or cement factories or iron and steel factories.
Yeah.
To use that carbon dioxide to produce ethylene.
Yeah.
You can bioconvert the carbon dioxide into organic compounds, which in turn constitute the building blocks of the entire range of chemicals that we use, plastics, other
True. Yeah.
what are the entire range of organic compounds. Now, I don't know if you've heard of something called Lululemon. Lululemon is a athleisure brand. It's a very high fashion brand.
Yes, we know it. We
Yoga.
had a shop in our neighborhood.
Achha, really?
Okay.
Lululemon yoga pants.
Yes.
It's a very fashionable thing.
Yes.
Now, Lululemon actually uses the fiber, made out of the material that is being made by Lanzatech by converting atmospheric carbon dioxide into ethylene. Now, once this becomes mainstream, then what you have is what is called, you are mining the air instead of mining the earth or the sea for crude oil.
Yeah.
And from that mined carbon dioxide from the air, you produce the entire range of useful materials that today used by cracking crude oil.
Yeah.
And if this becomes a dominant theme, you are removing carbon dioxide from the air and you are lowering the possibility of climate warming.
Yes.
So today you produce carbon dioxide as a byproduct.
Yeah.
There, if you mine the air to remove carbon dioxide and use it as your basic input to producing a range of goods, then a cleaner air is your byproduct. You don't have to just, mine for the sake of mining.
Yeah.
Today, the dominant carbon dioxide removal technologies, they mine the air just for mining.
Yeah.
They convert into minerals. You can basically make it react with some minerals and bury it deep underground so it doesn't come out.
Yeah.
Or the biggest use of captured carbon dioxide today is to pump it into oil wells. If an oil well is depleting, that needs additional pressure to pump out the remaining oil. And to generate that pressure, you pump back into the oil well the carbon dioxide captured from the air.
Yeah.
So this is one, but that actually is a way of utilizing carbon dioxide, which produces yet more carbon dioxide later on from the crude that you're pumping out.
Yeah.
It's not such a great idea.
No.
But it can also be used to, add fizz to soda or add fizz to beer.
Yeah.
So that are other uses to which carbon dioxide is put. But there is only so much of beer we can drink, right? So you can't.
But when you drink the beer, you release the carbon dioxide again. So
back into the air, but temporarily it will stay in your gut.
It's very short run effort. It doesn't do anything, right?
Yeah. Similarly, for even if you do afforestation, unless you can ensure that the trees stay as trees for a very long time, you will not really capture the carbon dioxide.
No.
So there is some technology research going on to increase the size of the root systems that trees have, so that
Yeah.
more and more carbon will stay under the ground.
Yeah.
In Norway, they are building multi-story, very tall buildings using wood, by engineered wood.
Yeah.
You can powder the hardwood and mix it with resins and create very durable, very strong material, which is
Yeah.
relatively light
Yeah.
and which can go up 25, 30, 40 floors.
Yeah.
And these are various ways in which you can capture carbon and ensure that it doesn't go back into the atmosphere, because these
Right.
things will last for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
So the various experiments are going on. But I'm saying that, for example, the Lawrence Livermore lab in the US, they had an experiment in which they managed to remove carbon dioxide from the air and convert it into alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
It can be used to mix into petrol and diesel, and you can
Yes.
run vehicles on that. So, but that was still too costly. They haven't scaled it up to a level where it is economically viable.
Yeah.
A university in Canada managed to convert carbon dioxide into carbon fiber.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great thing. If you can convert carbon dioxide captured from the air, strip it of its oxygen and reduce pure carbon, it can become diamonds. It can become, Vanta black, that pure black color,
Yeah.
which some painters value more than anything else because it's the darkest of dark you
Yeah.
can imagine.
Yeah.
Or you can make it into graphene. There can be very many forms of carbon which are of extremely useful material.
Yeah.
I would think right now the world is running out of sand for
Yeah.
construction.
Yeah.
Singapore imports sand at very high cost.
Yes.
Sand mining is banned in very many states because it is damaging the seas and damaging
That's right.
ecosystems.
That's right.
So right now we are using various kinds of aggregates as substitutes for sand.
Mm-hmm.
Why not convert carbon dioxide into carbon aggregates, which can be
Mm-hmm.
mixed into which can stand in for sand. So
Okay.
there are any number of useful things you can produce by converting the carbon dioxide mined from the atmosphere into this.
All right.
So basically, we must do more research and create the chemistry or biotechnology that can perform this economically.
Yeah.
This is the actual challenge that is required.
Okay.
Just by reducing additional emissions, we are not going to achieve the goal of limiting further warming.
All right. I
And
get your
how do
point.
we,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. I get your
so how
point.
do we, yeah, but this is the dominant discourse. Yeah? If you go to, we went to Glasgow in 2021, and the Prime Minister committed that we will reduce our emissions net zero by 2070. China will net zero by 2060. We will have half our power generated from non-fossil fuel sources by 2030. These are all the commitments we made. This will place an extreme pressure on our energy system. We'll struggle, but we will try. But at the same time, this must be supplemented by concerted efforts on the part of the rich world. We can also join in if we can afford it, but it should be their responsibility
Yeah.
and our opportunity
Yeah.
to use captured carbon dioxide into useful products.
Okay.
And developing the technology for this is the essential tool of fighting climate change.
Okay.
And India must make this point across on behalf of the entire developing world, the global south,
Mm-hmm.
to change the discourse on climate negotiations to drive this point home. This
Yeah.
is my basic point.
Well, okay, let me just add that even if you go to net zero, that means no new additions after 2050, 2060, whatever year you pick. By then, the CO2 in the atmosphere will be like 550 or 600, and it's only 425 now, and 375 is the safe limit. We'll be at 5, right? 1.5 is not feasible. You will be at 2 degrees centigrade, and you are accumulating in the atmosphere up to 600. Unless you pull something out, 500, 600 ppm is a killer. So I think you're right to point out that reducing additional emissions doesn't reduce the stock of CO2 in the atmosphere, right? It's just saying we are killing ourselves a little bit slower.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We are killing ourselves a little bit slower. It's like saying, okay, I'm on a diet, I will gain weight slower than in the past. But I'm still gaining weight. It's not reducing the weight by saying that, look, instead of gaining 1 kilo a month, I'll gain half a kilo a month. It's not going to solve your problem. Anyway, thank you for a very clear exposition.
So I'll just make a couple of fresh points.
Please continue.
Now, one is the issue of synthetic fuel.
Yeah.
Now, aviation contributes around 2% of global emissions.
Yeah.
2% doesn't seem very large as a proportion, but in absolute terms, it can be quite large.
Yeah.
And as more and more people become prosperous and the scale of economic activity goes up, the amount of flying that takes place will go up.
Yeah.
Planes will carry cargo more, they'll carry people more, and the emissions will go up proportionately.
Yeah.
Now, it has been found very difficult to change the fuel for planes. You can try to use electric planes, but their batteries are so heavy that if you put a lot of battery on planes, then their range of travel comes down sharply.
Yeah.
So for short duration flights, electric planes are viable, but for long duration flights, it is not viable.
Yeah.
You have to use some other fuels.
Yeah.
Now, suppose you can manufacture kerosene, the refined kerosene, which is what aviation fuel is all about. If you can manufacture that out of atmospheric carbon, then you will be just recycling what is already there.
Right.
You will suck out the carbon, convert it into fuel, and put it into the plane. The plane will again convert into carbon dioxide, put it in the air, but it will only be circulated. You will not be adding anything by traveling. The same thing goes for shipping. Shipping is another probably around 3% of annual global emissions. Again, ships cannot run on electricity because they travel thousands of kilometers and the charges just not last. They need a fuel, ideally a liquid fuel. And again, some synthetic fuel can be created, which is manufactured out of the carbon removed from the air. And that will do this job. So, while we should do everything we can to contribute to renewable energy creation, we should not let up on putting pressure on the rich world to remove the carbon they are put in the atmosphere in the first place, and through which process they actually became rich. You know, in Britain, before they discovered coal, the use of coal for reducing iron, they cut down entire forests of hardwood trees and burn that wood to reduce iron oxide in the ore and to create iron. Then they use coal, which produced even more. So in the first place, they removed the carbon dioxide absorbing mechanism that the tree. In the second case, they started burning coal and injecting thousands of tons of carbon dioxide into the air. And that is how they grew rich. And they are telling us, the poor countries in Africa and Asia, now you reduce your emissions.
Okay.
The third part is actually nuclear energy.
All right, let's go.
Nuclear energy doesn't produce emissions. It's free of carbon dioxide. But people are scared of nuclear energy. But why be scared? There have been one major accident, that is Chernobyl. There has been one minor accident. It's not a minor accident, but it was contained in Fukushima in Japan. There was a 3-mile island accident in the late 70s in the US, after which the US stopped producing nuclear power. But in France, 80% of the energy they produce is nuclear. And they started in the 1970s. So France has actually the most rational approach to nuclear power. But thanks to this current imperative to find cleaner alternatives to fossil fuel burning energy production, nuclear power is back in the discourse.
It is.
Now, one major drawback of nuclear power is the cost. you start building a nuclear power, it always runs out of the projected time. There are time overruns, there are cost overruns, and it becomes far more capital intensive than the original plan.
Yeah.
The solution has been found in what are called small modular reactors. So small modular reactors, or SMRs as they're called, they are actually manufactured in factories on
Yeah.
scale.
Yeah.
Whereas conventionally, nuclear plants are custom built for every site.
Yeah.
So they become more expensive.
Yeah.
Now, these are built-in modules, which can be aggregated to produce 2 units, 3 units, 4 units of 300 megawatts each. So in that process, they reduce the cost of each unit and they reduce the cost of the capital cost of producing nuclear power. And they also incorporate far better design to minimize the danger of any leakage or problem.
Yeah.
And this is one alternative to conventional power, conventional thermal power, which will actually prevent any emissions. And a very key reason why we should keep investing in nuclear power, the fission power, is that that's the only way we'll finally master fusion.
Yeah.
One of the advantages of India joining India signing up to the Indo-US nuclear accord has been that we have been admitted to the select number of countries that run the ITER program,
Yes.
the International Thermonuclear Energy Reactor Program. This ITER experimental reactor is being built in France, and Russia, US, France, many countries are part of this. Now India is also part of this. And fusion is the promise of unlimited cheap energy without much nuclear waste. When you fuse two heavy hydrogen atoms together, and you produce water basically. There is no nuclear radiation, and that promise is now actually very close to being realized. The essential problem with nuclear fusion has been that the heat generated is so intense that there is no physical receptacle in which you can hold this plasma.
Yeah.
That mass of molten molecules is so hot.
Yeah.
You cannot hold it in anything. It will melt through it. It will burn through it. So it has to be held in a magnetic field. Now, till the advance of microelectronics and computing, artificial intelligence has reached the stage where it is today, it has not been possible to adjust the magnetic field so as to hold it in a steady, controlled fashion. Now, we are very close to perfecting the algorithms which will actually allow the magnetic field to hold this plasma in a controlled, steady fashion. So I am hopeful that we'll probably reach commercially viable nuclear fusion possibly in the next 6-7 years.
Okay.
Now, this is something that is funded by venture capital. There are some startups which are working on this, and we are in a very exciting time as far as nuclear energy is concerned. On the one hand, you have the small modular reactors, then we have the promise of fusion, which till now is a joke that nuclear fusion is always 30 years in the future. But we hope that it will cease to be in the future and will be realized.
Okay.
And I think all this is actually, this is not any science fiction. These are all within the realm of the feasible and the viable, provided enough resources are put behind these projects.
Yeah.
And for that, we need to change the discourse on global climate efforts. It must shift away from asking for reduction or incremental emissions and shift to these kind of things which will avoid emissions in the case of nuclear power or suck out carbon from the air and therefore create negative emissions in the case of the rich world. I think this is the principal message that I wanted to convey.
Well, you have conveyed it in a very clear and articulate manner. And certainly it's a message that should reach a lot of people. And I'm hoping that the young people who watch this and who are very interested in climate change and what India should do will listen to you, Whether I agree or disagree, that we will talk offline, because it's not my intention to be a commentator and so on. So if you have nothing else to add, or if you have something else to add, please do it now. Otherwise, we will say goodbye to the viewers and we will talk offline.
Yeah. So I would like to say that I write on these things also. I write on this and I get many other topics which might be of interest to your viewers.
Yeah.
And they can be accessed at a site called tkarun.substack.com.
Okay. Fine. Yeah.
Substack.com.
Yeah, you write on Substack. I think the young people all know Substack. It's only for older folks that we have to tell them what is Substack. I think young people, I've also experimented a bit, but I have actually focused on trying to develop this video channel rather than doing more text. Okay, thank you, TK. This has been very enlightening and very good to have you here on this. Let's say bye to the viewers and then we'll talk offline. Okay, bye-bye, everybody. I'll be back with another expert or another young person.
Thank you for giving this chance.
Okay.